moving along to the next horrible question to ask a man in the early stages of dating, and that is, do you think she's prettier than me? Okay. Now listen. Let's just start with the reality that no matter how fine you are, no matter how much your partner thinks you are the most beautiful person in the world, and I'm sure they may feel that way at times, but that doesn't mean they won't ever see someone who may be prettier, quote unquote, than you. Does that mean they want them more? No. Does that mean they could see themselves with them at all? No. But we all have somebody that looks better than us. At least somebody, if not tons of people who look better than us, no matter how good a person looks. So, to ask that question is like such an unfair, unrealistic question. Now, sometimes you might be thinking, yeah, but I'm not thinking about women in general. I'm asking about this specific woman that maybe he mentioned or passed by or is an old friend or an ex or whatever the case may be. But to me, it's like, what do you expect the man to say, right? Even if he does think she was prettier than you, unless he has a death wish, he's not going to say that, all right? He's going to control himself probably, hopefully, and be like, no. But the problem is, the way he says no, you might sense, this dude is lying. And now you're mad because you feel like he's not being honest with you. So now we're creating these unnecessary issues because we asked a very unnecessary question. All right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if someone is prettier or he thinks they look better. What matters is he attracted to you? Is he happy with you? Is your relationship thriving? Or is your dating experience going well? That's what matters. Now, if you want to ask a man, hey, what do you think I could do that would increase your attraction to me? Okay, I think that's a great question to ask. If you ask, what do you think I could do that would optimize my looks more, right? I think, again, great, fair question to ask. But anything that involves comparing you to someone else is just creating unnecessary problems. So avoid that question, stay away from it, and I gave you some ones that you can use that are much, much better. All right, so here's another one, and I got a bonus after this. The other horrible question to ask a man in the early stages of dating is, when was the last time you cried? Now, why is that a bad question? I talked about earlier how one of the things men are very sensitive about is the fear of a woman wanting them or using them for their money. And another thing that men are extremely sensitive about is a woman viewing them as weak or losing respect for them, okay? And what typically goes along with that fear of being viewed as weak is allowing themselves to cry in front of a woman. Now, though this situation is not about him crying in front of a woman, it's about him acknowledging a moment like that, right? And so for a lot of men, it's not the most comfortable thing to answer, even if he has a moment he can reference. Now, listen, some men aren't going to have any problem with it. Some men will stand on when they last cried, or they're just not afraid to share those deeper parts with you whatsoever. But I do think that asking in that way can cause some men to be on the defense in that moment and want to gloss over a situation, and therefore you not really getting what you needed out of that conversation. Because ask yourself, what am I really trying to find out when I ask this man, when was the last time he cried, right? And I think what you're trying to find out is, one, like, to see what he's sensitive to see if he allows himself to open up in that way, to see the things that have affected him, to see if he has that more emotional side of him, so to speak. And I think if you're trying to discover that about him, or just trying to get him to open up in general, I think a much better question to ask him is, when was the last time something deeply affected you? Okay? And I think that question makes it more comfortable for the man to be open about something that happened to them that affected them. Because they don't have to talk about, well, I cried. And it may lead into them admitting that they cried in that moment. I don't know. But I think that helps crack the door open to that conversation more. It eases them into it a lot easier without them worrying about the whole crying part and acknowledging that to this woman. That you got to remember, when a man's trying to get to know you and he's feeling you, he's into you, he wants to impress you. He wants to look like a strong man in your eyes and acknowledging crying. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with a man having a woman that he cried. I don't think there's anything wrong with admitting to that. I'm just acknowledging the fact that for a lot of men, it is a concern. It is a fear. And you can hear tons of stories from men who will tell you that when they allow themselves to be that vulnerable with a woman, they lost her, she lost respect, it caused all kinds of problems. So they have a reason why they think like this. But asking when was the last time something deeply affected you, I definitely think would work a lot better than asking about the crime. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So I think we can all agree communication is key in relationships and dating. And one of the reasons why so many people don't get better results is because they're overlooking the need to communicate